Well, good morning. Thank you for having me here. I'll give you a little bit about my background and what we do. My name is Charles Avila. I am with MENFOK. MENFOK is actually an acronym, and it stands for Males Encouraging Nurturing for the Ongoing Link to Kinship. And that's a long way to tell you what it really means is dads coming together to really just help communicate with our children and help our families become a stronger and stay together. What we utilize in our groups is we've targeted a lot of our community partners. So we partner with Head Start, families that have already children 0 to 5. We partner with some of the other nonprofits who don't have the funding to actually have father groups established or don't have the staff within their organization. So we partner with them and we do the facilitation for those dad groups. It's a great way, one, for us to get to other fathers that we wouldn't normally reach. Couldn't tell you, since 2005 when we started, I could not tell you how many resource fairs I've been to in my community that we've been handing out flyers. And I see a lot of moms that'll take my flyer home and say, that's a great thing, I'm gonna send my dad, I'm gonna send my husband, or I'm gonna send my baby's daddy, and I never see them. Because no man wants their wife to come home or their girlfriend to come home and say, here's a father's group for you to go get better at. So we really try to do the outreach ourselves, and I invite those dads that are part of my organization, that are part of the groups, to come out and be at those resource fairs so they can tell their story and talk to them. The whole reason behind MENFOK and how it started was my wife and I met. She was 14, I was 15. Before we got out of high school, we had a son. So my job then became going to school and going to work. And I did that starting at 16 years of age. Mike was born. We survived that teenage year of our life, waited 5 years to have another child, mainly because I learned early on if my kids wanted to go to college, I couldn't afford to send 2 or 3 back to back. So we spaced our children out, and although Mike was not planned, they've been doing great. We waited another 5 years and had our third child. So we've had 3 kids. Our youngest is now 15. Our 2 oldest are grown. They've given us grandkids. So I became a grandfather in my mid-30s. And now my wife and I just celebrated our 28th year together. She was a big part of why I do what I do. I grew up in a home where my parents are still alive and my parents are still together, and I still see them. And when I'm talking to them on the phone and I'm going to hang up, I say, okay, Mom, I love you. She says, thank you. Or I tell my dad, okay, Dad, I'll talk to you later. I love you. And he just hands the phone to my mom, because they don't know how to express that. If it was your birthday or if it was New Year's, we got a hug. My wife grew up in a totally different home where they were hugged all the time and they were told they were loved all the time. And I remember being a teenager, the first time going over to her home for dinner. She had an older brother from her dad's first marriage, and he came in and he hugged everybody and went around the room. And when he was leaving, he went around the room and hugged everybody again. And I looked at her and I said, do you guys not see him often? And she says, he's here every weekend. And I said, and he always does that and he always hugs everybody? And she says, yeah, because I didn't know that wasn't part of what I did. So I created my own organization. I created my own support group. That's how MENFOK got started. I was looking for a place at that time in 2005 to talk to my kids about growing up, about peer pressure, about sex, about all the things they were going to go through. My son was starting high school, and how do you talk to him about it? Because I didn't have those talks. So I created my own support system, and there are organizations that were doing father's work. They were all attached to a religion, and that nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't for me. So MENFOK was created. It's been a great help for me. It's been a great help for the dads in my community. And I'll end with one last story. About a year ago, the dads, we were sitting around and we were talking, and we decided that we wanted to take our kids to the drive-in, and there were more drive-ins. So we spent 2 months where I collected refrigerator boxes, and the dads cut out the shape of a car into the refrigerator box, and they painted it with their kids. And at every meeting they were coming, their kids were painting, their kids were designing the car to look whatever they wanted. We had a room. We set up all of the car boxes up. We put chairs in it. I bought a fan, so we had a fan blowing, and we played a movie on the screen, and the dads got to take their kids to their first drive-in. And it was just an opportunity for those dads to actually spend some time with their kids that they normally wouldn't have done. So that's part of what we do. That's part of what we've been doing. Unlike some of the other organizations, I'm not actually funded by anybody. Everything that we provide for usually comes out of pocket, or I get donations for from just our communities. So that's who we are. Thanks.
Thank you so much. As committee members